All right, you guys, give me a second to make some adjustments. All right, so I'm by your local AutoZone, so I'm posted up. I ain't get no parts, so I decided, to do this stream. So Canelo finds himself in an awkward state, but not really. It still benefits him because at the end of the day, he's a promotional free agent due to the fact that him and the PBC wasn't able to broker a deal. Now, keep in mind, remember, I reported this last week that this was going to happen. I reported this last week before everybody else did, that I got the scoop that this was going on, that Al Haymon, now I thought it was last week, but apparently the deadline was this week, that Al Haymon had a certain amount of time to provide proof of funds, or at least assure Canelo that he could pay him certain types of money. Now, of course, the Al Haymon, we already know that the Al Haymon supporters are going to come out in drones and they're going to bash Canelo, and they're going to start talking this. Whoever bashes Al Haymon is a sellout and a coon and all that kind of stuff. Everybody knows that I'm the furthest thing from a coon. But real got to recognize real. We know the Al Haymon apologist is going to come for Canelo, but don't worry. I got a video coming for Canelo, basically exposing him as a complete hypocrite. Basically, now he has a way out of fighting David Benavidez. Now he doesn't ever have to worry about fighting David Benavidez. Because as long as David Benavidez is tied to the PBC, well, there's going to be no pressure to fight him. So now Canelo has his next two opponents lined up in whichever order he wants to fight him, which is, in all likely, will be Edgar Berlanga and Jaime Munguia. Now, keep in mind, some surprise opponent could come out of nowhere for Canelo. You never know. Al Haymon did not want him to fight Charlo because basically the last fight with Charlo flopped with Jamel. It flopped. It didn't do good, which I got to tell y'all that it didn't sell good and it didn't do good on pay-per-view. It was a complete flop. It was a financial disaster. At the end of the day, Al Haymon was banking on Canelo to basically bail the PBC out. Now, he had the money for him to fight David Benavidez because he felt like that would have been a successful fight. But at the end of the day, Canelo did not want to fight David Benavidez. And then he tried to, and then on the slide, he tried to offer David Benavidez a very low ball offer. Yeah, Bud, I'm gonna talk about Bud. I'm gonna talk about Bud too. Bud is a promotional free. I don't know what Bud is gonna do. I don't know what Bud is gonna do, but Bud is gonna have to make a decision. They don't have the money for Terrence Crawford. They don't have the money for Terrence. So now it's funny. Now all of the people, all of a sudden, are starting to see what went on with the PBC and Al Haymon. I've been telling you this was going on for years, but of course I got called a sellout. I got called Bob Arum's Aaron boy, which y'all know I don't even hardly talk to Bob Arum, by some black ass baby animal looking nigga from the DMV with his bitch ass. So I had to be subjected to all these attacks. My blackness got questioned because at the end of the day, Al Haymon had plenty of chances. Al Haymon, like I said, his master plan. This is why he didn't want to make Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. This is why he kept telling Errol Spence, don't fight Terrence Crawford. I was going to bring Canelo back to the PBC, and I was going to put you in the ring with Canelo in Cowboy Stadium. That was the whole plan. And then Errol Spence became, basically Errol Spence was under so much pressure to fight Terrence Crawford. That's why they kept prolonging the fight. And Errol Spence was trying to save face by trying to act like he was trying to make the fight when he really wasn't. Al Haymon told him not to fight Terrence Crawford. And then based off the fact that they procrastinated for years, and a lot of these people now that's trying to act like they support Terrence Crawford, nah, just, don't fake the funk. I saw all the videos get made about Terrence Crawford, calling him a coon, calling him top ranked Toby and all that goofy stuff. What about what Al Haymon did to the black fighters? What about what Al Haymon did to black media? Y'all didn't say nothing about that. So now, Al Haymon, the one cash cow he has left is Tank Davis. So now he has to figure out how to basically maneuver Tank. Now he has to figure out what he's going to do regarding Tank. Does he still make the Frank Martin fight that is not going to be financially successful? Yes, it'll be a good scrap on paper. But once again, boxing is a business, is a popularity contest. You guys have to remember this. Frank Martin has yet to headline a real actual main event at a full-fledged arena. It's a difference between fighting in ballrooms versus fighting in full-fledged arenas. Devin Haney fights in arenas. Tank Davis fights in arenas. Canelo fights in arenas and stadiums. So it's a big difference. I was trying to explain this to y'all. So, like I said, where y'all at now? Don't try to act like y'all anti-Al Haymon now. I told y'all he was doing this stuff. And now it's backfired. So now he doesn't have Canelo's money. Now he can guarantee Canelo's money if he would have agreed to fight somebody like Haymon Munguia or David Benavidez. But they know based off the fact how bad the Charlo fight was, how Charlo just basically showed up just to get a check, which was only $3 million according to reports. And then based off the fact that Jermall didn't look that good, and then he's going through all these issues outside of boxing, basically begging people to pay him to come on their streams and all that kind of stuff. So nobody wants to see it because nobody asked for the first Charlo fight with Jamel. Canelo wanted the Charlo brothers because they were easy pickings. They were fresh cherries off the tree. Freshly watered cherries. They were both cherry picked. They were fights that Canelo was comfortable with because he felt he could win those fights. Now, he's going to, in all likely, fight Haymon Munguia with hesitation because it looked like he has no choice but to fight Haymon Munguia, who is a Mexican. But this is going to go against what he said about he doesn't see himself fighting any more Mexicans. Well, you have no choice but to fight a Mexican. But then the criticism is going to circle right back to Canelo because now people are going to say, well, wait a minute, man. Okay, Haymon Munguia is Mexican. David Benavidez is Mexican. So why not David Benavidez? This is going to further implicate Canelo as being a coward. This is further going to, for real, this is an indictment on Canelo. And this is why I keep telling people for the last fucking time, stop telling me and telling other people that Canelo will fight anybody, because that is not true. It is not true that Canelo will fight anybody. He wants all the smoke. No, Canelo wants certain kind of smoke. He wants hookah smoke. And you know the difference between regular smoke and then smoking at a hookah lounge. Come in different flavors, varieties. So when you go to a hookah lounge, which I have, you can smoke hookahs in different type of flavors or different type of smoke. So Canelo wants hookah smoke versus regular, go through the fire smoke. So can we please stop it with this notion that Canelo fight anybody, because that is absolutely false. It's a falsehood. It's a fake narrative that's been getting pushed for the last 11 years. Ever since Canelo started to make his way, when he was the heir apparent to take over being the face of boxing, that was passed on to him by Floyd Mayweather, because God knows Floyd Mayweather didn't want to pass the torch to a brother. So I don't want to hear this. I'm serious. I don't want to hear this shit no more about Canelo will fight anybody. That's a damn lie. It's a damn lie. So for people that keep saying this stuff, I don't want to hear this from Eddie Hearn no more. I don't want to hear it from David Diamante. And David Diamante, that's my homie, because that's my guy, man. You know what I'm saying? He spent, that's my guy. But I'm tired of these lies. Even the Mexican fans are coming on my channel and telling the truth about Canelo. Nah, it ain't looking too good for Canelo. Even they can't defend Canelo anymore. It get to a point to where you can't defend people anymore. Just like I couldn't defend the PBC. I told you guys back in 2019 that this was going to happen, leading up to the Terrence Crawford fight, that they was going to try to stall that fight for as long as possible, if ever, to try to make that fight. Remember, when Canelo came to the PBC for the one and done, and he took Caleb Plant's belt, which, by the way, here's another bombshell that I need to drop. This is why Canelo don't really want to fight David Benavidez. They tried to lowball David Benavidez. They tried to offer David Benavidez basically a flat, just a flat fee of $5 million. According to my resources, my reports that I've done, my research, they was going to offer him a flat fee of $5 million. And guess what? David Benavidez accepted it. This was told by me, that Canelo's team said, okay, well, we'll fight David Benavidez, but he just got to take $5 million. That's all he get. And we may give him a percentage of the pay-per-view. But here's the thing. Canelo paid Caleb Plant $10 million. Now, before somebody come on here saying that's because, Caleb Plant had a belt. Well, David Benavidez once had a belt. And you were going to make more money regardless fighting David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant. Regardless, you still would have made more money, even if you would have been willing to give him $10 million. You made $40 million for Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant got $10 million. So basically, out of a $50 million purse, Caleb Plant got 10. You was gonna get 65. You were gonna get 60 to fight David Benavidez. Why can't you give David Benavidez the same? And then, to be honest with you, due to the fact that you were going to get between 55 and 60, even if you gave David Benavidez, you still would have made more percentage-wise fighting David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant. Canelo is completely exposed. Canelo is completely exposed. He just doesn't want to fight the guy. There is something that Canelo sees in David Benavidez that bothers the hell out of him. They put all their stock into Canelo, hoping that Canelo could bail them out of, financial disarray. And it didn't happen. Canelo was like, and you got to give Canelo credit. He stood up to Al Haymon. He's like, nah, you don't tell me who to fight. I'll fight who I want to fight. Nah, Canelo, we want you to fight Jaime Munguia because we could make more money. Fight Jaime Munguia, fight David Benavidez, and we could make more money. And then they figure, based off the money that they can make on the pay-per-view sales, the gate and all this kind of stuff, that would be enough to basically hold the PBC afloat for a little bit, because at the end of the day, now questions are going to start getting asked. So now all these fighters are saying, okay, if you can't afford to pay Canelo, then what about me? My thing is, what did you do with the money? What did you do with the money from the Conor McGregor fight? You made a shitload of money from the Conor McGregor fight. Why didn't you take the money that you made from the Conor McGregor fight, put it back into the company and invest it? To where if a problem like this came, you would be ready. And obviously they didn't put no money away or invest money away for a rainy day. So now look where they're at. And then they kept giving us BS fights, BS pay-per-view fights that nobody wanted to see, nobody cared about, and that nobody wanted to pay to see. So now this is why they are where they are now. This is no fault of Canelo. In the words of Lee Child, not my problem. It's not my problem to like help save the company. All I know is you promised me this amount of money per fight. You got to pay it to me. And I'm going to pick who I'll fight, not you. Now you can see they ain't finna be, I can promise you he ain't gonna be able to I can promise you he ain't gonna be able to do the shit to Canelo that he didn't done to the brothers. Canelo got too much juice. Well, everybody acting like they know everything. Well, here's the thing with Tank. They may have no choice but to make Tank versus Devin Haney. Now, depending on what happens with Devin versus Ryan Garcia, which I think he will defeat Ryan Garcia. Well, here's the thing. Now, Devin Haney will have a little bit of pull and influence with the PBC. So now Tank ain't gonna be able to offer Devin Haney no low ball nigga offer to get him to come fight on the PBC platform. So now you're gonna have to pay Devin Haney. So now you're not gonna be able to lowball Devin Haney, because now Tank needs Devin Haney possibly. Because now, what do you have for Tank? What do you have for Tank? People keep talking about, oh, well, people gonna pay to see Tank regardless. Okay, yeah, they may buy tickets, but here's the thing. Can Tank sell 1 million pay-per-views fighting Frank Martin? Absolutely not. And I can tell you now, of course, they're gonna try to inflate the numbers and try to basically insult your intelligence. They'll put out some fake report. Tank versus Frank did absolutely phenomenal numbers. It did 700,000. But these are the same people, but these are the same people that'll say, you know, they'll say it did this amount of money, but then and this amount of pay-per-views. But these will be the same people that was putting question marks around Devin Haney's pay-per-views. But then we saw the PBC numbers. The PBC were exaggerating their pay-per-view numbers. Like I said before, they were exaggerating Errol Spence's pay-per-views. They were exaggerating some of the other pay-per-views. Now, keep in mind, they tried to say that the Charlo brother double feature, when they was both featured on pay-per-view, they tried to say that it did like 200,000 pay-per-views. And then the real numbers came out, said it didn't even do 75,000. Ortiz versus Ruiz did terrible numbers. Martin versus Ruiz did terrible numbers. 25,000. Like, come on, man. And you thought Fox was about to continue to do business with Showtime? You thought that Fox was going to continue to do business with Al Haymon and the PBC? You thought Showtime was going to continue to do business when they're losing money? Bud versus Errol Spence didn't turn enough of a profit to satisfy Showtime because they procrastinated. It took too long. The best time to have made that fight was in 2022 when it was still a bit of a buzz for it. But by the time they finally made the fight, people had like, whatever, man. And then based off the fact that when the fight actually happened, it was such a dominant performance by Terrence Crawford where he beat Errol Spence's ass from pillar to post. Showtime is like, you think we finna give you another check for this? And you had the Errol Spence apologists putting out fake narratives that it was the weight, it was everything except the fact that Terrence Crawford was the better man that night. That's what it was. Terrence Crawford was the better man. He beat the hell out of Errol Spence, and that was just the bottom line. And the Errol Spence butt boys couldn't stand the fact that Terrence Crawford was the better man, so they started like putting out all these excuses and insinuations. And then you had one dude, this fake ass large professor looking nigga, like talking about that Terrence Crawford was on PEDs. You just started to see the bullshit, which I told y'all that the wrong guy won that night. I told y'all that this was gonna happen. I knew the Errol Spence butt boys wasn't gonna accept the truth, that they was gonna push false narratives. Hey, like Jim Carrey said on the first Ace Ventura, man, I'm tired of being right. But I was right. So now, like I said, PBC is in a very giant pickle. So they really are going to have to figure out what's next for them. Sean O'Malley ain't gonna do that. He gonna say you gotta get in the MMA cage and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think Dana White has any more interest in doing that as of right now. I think he wants his fighters to just worry about MMA and basically coinciding the WWE because they're owned by the same parent company endeavors. Sean, for real. Well, here's the thing. Devin Haney's popularity must be somewhat up there. It's catching up with Tank's. Now, keep in mind, this is the same thing that happened. This is the same thing. Remember, that happened with Terrence Crawford. These people spend so much time making these anti-Terrence Crawford videos to where, guess what? Terrence Crawford's popularity started to elevate. Go up, go up, go up, go up. Don't you know the more you talk about somebody, people who might not know who Terrence Crawford is going to look him up and see who he is and do research. And then that's how somebody's popularity grow. That's how you start saying, okay, who is this Terrence Crawford guy? Then you start looking like, okay, wait a minute. You start looking at highlight reels. Okay. So it was actually the so-called anti-Terrence Crawford haters that actually helped elevate his popularity. They spent more time making videos talking shit about Terrence Crawford than trying to elevate Errol Spence. So I will say this much on behalf of the Bay Area, Team Haney, Bill Haney, Devin Haney, keep making those fucking videos. Please keep making those videos. Because guess what? Before you know it, Devin Haney's popularity is going to be just, I'm telling you, the gap is starting to close in. Because you know why? Devin Haney got a good strategy behind him. They got a good marketing team. They got people that advise them. They got good advisors. So they know what to do. Bill know what to do. Bill a hustler. He like me. He know how to improvise. He know how to do things on the fly. So that's real. So if Devin, and I'm gonna tell you right now, Devin Haney, he gonna have bad intentions for Ryan Garcia. I told y'all as far as Devin Haney's power go, that Devin Haney was going to get more knockouts and accumulate more knockouts when he move up in weight. He's starting to grow into his man body. He was draining himself to try to stay at 135 so he could become undisputed, so he can get certain fights. Okay, he's became undisputed. He became undisputed. He went through you know what I'm saying? He went through the grind. He did what it takes. The 2 fights with Kambosos. Then he had a tough fight against Lomachenko, which I thought he won. At the end of the day, if anybody, like, you just gonna have to accept the fact, anybody that's still saying that Devin Haney lost to Lomachenko, you a fucking idiot. Devin Haney clearly beat Lomachenko 8-4, 9-3. Worst case scenario, 7-5. And you would be generous to say Lomachenko won 5 rounds. All of a sudden, you want to change the rules of boxing for Lomachenko. Lomachenko had 2 dominant rounds. He did dominate the 10th and 11th. But all the other rounds, you can't even pinpoint what other rounds Lomachenko won except the 10th or 11th. Yeah, he clearly won those rounds. But what about the other 10? What other rounds that you could clearly say he won besides the 10th and 11th? Bingo. Hey, bro. Hey, listen, you cornball. Don't, no, bro, I'm speaking facts. Hey, bro, shut the fuck up before I block your bitch ass. Say something else. Don't come on here trying to disrespect me, bro. I will run your ass off my channel with the quickness. Now say something else. Say something else, dude. Shut up and listen. Okay? No, I'm speaking facts. Yeah, I'm speaking facts. See, that's what they do. That's what they do. That's what they do. They can't stand to hear the truth. No. Hamza, let him come back in. But if he say something else stupid, get rid of his ass. I give people chances. I'm going to be fair. I'll let him come back, but don't come here cheerleading. I know what I'm talking about. Don't ever challenge no dude. I cover boxing, punk. I cover boxing, punk. What are you talking about? I had the information before everybody else did. So if you on somebody's jock strap, go somewhere else. Shut up and listen. You got the one right here, bruh. But nevertheless, like I said, you guys, if he say something stupid, get rid of his ass instantly. Well, that's what they do. I'm just telling you. You know what I'm saying? I'm just telling the truth. You know, the truth hurts. The truth hurts. This is what happens when you put too much stock into one person. This is what happens when you put too much stock into one person. Al Haymon was banking too much on Canelo. But this is what happens when you don't take care of your own, when you look out for the other instead of the brother. Al Haymon had a very talented roster of brothers, but he kept putting them on the back burner for primarily the Latino fighters. And at the end of the day, he should have been more willing to make more cross-promotional matches. Who gives a damn if they lost? Who cares if they went on other outlets and lost? You could have signed rematch deals. Now all of a sudden you willing to do cross-promotional deals. Too little, too late. And that's the problem. People kept, like I said before, they purposely, the thing is, everybody keep trying to save and cap for Al Haymon, but they purposely froze out Terrence Crawford. Purposely froze him out. Talk they fighters out of taking certain fights, taking certain paydays. They interfered with Gary Russell Jr. fighting Devin Haney. Devin Haney was trying to fight Gary Russell Jr. They interfered with that. There's some reason that got interfered. Okay, Frank Martin was going to receive his biggest payday. And I don't care what he be telling everybody else. Listen to me. I have no reason to lie to you guys. This isn't about being no top ranked mascot. But I can tell you this much. I get credentialed by the white people versus I get credentialed by the white people before I get credentialed by the black people. Now, don't you find something wrong with that? PBC give me the most trouble. Like I said, I've said this several times. PBC give me the most trouble trying to get credentialed for fights. How many matchroom fights? I appreciate that, Jake. How many matchroom fights have you seen me or Miguel, aka Kobe, cover? Miggs. How many top rank fights have I covered? In the last 2 years, I only been credentialed for one PBC event, and that was in Minneapolis. And that was a fight that nobody wanted to cover. Then they did some dirty, and then let me tell you something. The PBC did some dirty shit to me when it came to Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. And then they did it to me again with David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade. And I already told you what they did. Now this is a black man. But then you get these fake pro-black militant niggas that be calling themselves trying to check you on behalf of Al Haymon. Like I said, Al Haymon put everybody in front of the brothers. We had to sit up there and constantly call Al Haymon out like, hey, Al, what's going on, man? Why ain't you put more brothers on these pay-per-views? You shouldn't have to call nobody out, make videos saying, hey, man, what's going on with this? Because you should have been doing that in the first place. They used to do this to me. They used to do this to me. They used to do this to World Combat Sports. They used to do this to a couple of other people, Shy News, all of us. We all black media. And then if we would go, they would be harassing us. Shout out to my guy World Combat Sports out of the ATL. He'll tell you. He was getting harassed when he went there to cover the press conference, the first press conference for Spence versus Crawford. He was getting harassed. So now Al have to figure out what's the next move. So now everything is banging on Tank now because he has no Canelo. Then Errol Spence, we don't know what's going on with Errol Spence. And then it looked like every fight that they're going to have on this Amazon platform is going to be pay-per-view. So now the question is, okay, now that David Benavidez doesn't get Canelo, okay, so what's next after Boslick? So, you know. So, this is just the flat out truth. Now people been seeing what I've been saying about the PBC. I mean, it's cool. The trolls are mad. They upset. They upset about what's going on. These are in all likely Tank fans. But now at the end of the day, now it looks like Tank may need Devin Haney. Nobody not gonna pay to see no Frank Martin pay-per-view. And I know people are saying, oh, well, you guys are still complaining. You guys are still complaining. Frank Martin is a black fighter. I thought Tank didn't fight black fighters. Well, Shakur Stevenson is black. Devin Haney is black. Because y'all know Bill is black. Devin Haney's black. His mother is black. His father is black. What was wrong with fighting that black fighter? Oh, because it's too much of a risk. And this is the problem that the PBC been doing with their fighters. Basically, they were trying to sell their fighters all being off the whole Floyd Mayweather thing, being undefeated. Listen, that only worked with Floyd and Andre Ward. At the end of the day, just because you lose a fight doesn't mean that you're not a great fighter. But that was the problem. I mean, if you putting dudes in the ring with dudes that you know he could beat and you not putting them in fights that's risky for him, then at the end of the day, people gonna start look at the opponent selection. You're gonna be like, hey man, what's up with this? You're not giving us the fights we wanted. You procrastinating. So once again, this is why the PBC is in the position that they was in. They was making this BS up about the other side of the street, the trap house, the last house on the left. You heard every excuse in the book. Roadblock after roadblock. And like I said, Errol Spence played himself when he sat up there and said, oh, he on the wrong side of the street. Because that started all this stuff. And then the PBC groupies started to follow this pattern. Oh, you need, playing Fanager. Oh man, you need to come sign with the PBC if you want to get the fight. Like these dudes was getting a paycheck from Al Haymon. Basically sitting up trying to basically act like they on the, you know what I'm saying, like they on the payroll for the PBC. Actually having actual debates, making videos saying, oh, this dude, for this fight to happen, he need to come to the PBC. And I kept telling y'all I wasn't going to participate in that. Like I said, as a media member, it ain't my job to tell nobody what promotional company to sign with. I'm just about trying to get fights made. You never heard this. I'm serious. And this is why boxing is in the toilet right now. You never heard nobody in the 70s, in the 80s, in the early 90s talking about, well, I can't fight him because he fight for this network and he with this promotional company. Listen, man, this ain't the Crips and the Bloods. This ain't the Serranos and the Norteños. This ain't the Vice Lords and the Gangster Disciples. This ain't, for real. This ain't the MS-13s. This ain't no gang shit. Even though these boxers didn't made it look like it's some, man, you just supposed to be fighting. And then a lot of these PBC dudes was lying about being their own boss. Well, if they was their own boss, how come they was getting talked out of taking other fights on other networks where they could have made more money? When I saw what happened with Danny Garcia, man, when they pulled that stuff with Danny Garcia, when he was off once again. Danny Garcia could have made probably $5 million fighting Terrence Crawford. Keep in mind, y'all remember, Danny Garcia was the mandatory for the WBO. And Al Haymon kept talking his fighters out of doing cross-promotional fight. Nah, don't take this fight. We'll get you this fight. We'll get you that fight. We'll just keep you fighting. And I'll pay you a bit of a incentive difference to match what you could have made for the, man, come on, man. I already knew what was going. When he pulled that stuff, when I asked him, hey Danny, you the mandatory for Terrence Crawford. Oh, call Al Haymon. Well, they called Al Haymon. And Al Haymon didn't want to make the fight. I'm gonna say this once again. Danny Garcia took $1.2 million to fight Adrian Granados. Remember, I covered that fight at the Home Depot Center. At the Home Depot Center, where he could have took $3 million. He was guaranteed $3 million to fight Terrence Crawford at Madison Square Garden on pay-per-view. And just thinking back, what didn't happen? You actually had people that was, I just want to show you how divisive and toxic black people were. These are the same, and now all of a sudden these dudes trying to change their tune. These were the same niggas that was making fun of Terrence Crawford pay-per-view numbers. These are black people that was hoping and praying for Terrence Crawford's pay-per-views to flop. But these dudes supposed to be so pro-black. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. Last time I checked, $3 million is more than 1.2. He was guaranteed $3 million. Guaranteed $3 million to fight Terrence Crawford. So Terrence Crawford pretty much decided to fight Amir Khan. Danny Garcia was the mandatory for the WBO. Okay, he was the mandatory, and he walked away from it. Took 1.2. 1.2. Now I don't know if Al Haymon threw some you know what I'm saying, some under the table, some undocumented money to Danny Garcia. Maybe he did. But on paper, Danny Garcia was offered $3 million to fight Terrence Crawford. Plus pay-per-view, plus some of the game. Danny Garcia could have made possibly $5 million fighting Terrence Crawford. And like I said, he turned it down. So once again, make sense of that. And they purposely was freezing Terrence Crawford out. Now, luckily for Terrence Crawford, he got the Sean Porter fight. Sean Porter activated his mandatory status. And do you know, and the funny thing was, do you know I called Kenny Porter when the news broke, when I got the text that Sean was the mandatory? Kenny didn't even know. And it was so funny. I text Kenny, and then Kenny checked himself, and he was like, oh, okay. Now, do you know how much Sean Porter made fighting Terrence Crawford? Sean Porter, I know how much Sean Porter really made. Sean Porter made a decent amount of money. I'll put it to you this way. He pretty much made what Danny Garcia would have made fighting Terrence Crawford on pay-per-view. And like I said before, but let's rewind it. Remember, y'all saw all the videos where people were making videos laughing at Terrence Crawford's pay-per-view sales. These were people making fun of Terrence Crawford losing the Manny Pacquiao fight. These are your pro-black people. These your pro-black people. So make that make sense. I'm talking about this is laughable. You can't make this stuff up. And then these are the same people that will say, oh man, I don't be feeling Bud, man, because Bud, he won't talk to the media, man. He won't talk to us. He won't, well, can you blame him? Let me explain something to you. Bud be watching all that stuff. He watches those videos. He watches them. I know that for a fact. Now, here's the thing. Bud talks to me. I don't have to, like, one thing about me, I don't have to film myself talking to somebody. That's why you take a pen and a paper. That's why you take a tape recorder, and then you could get a quote. Y'all do know that's what journalists used to do back in the day. If they didn't have no camera or no tape recorder, they would just take notes, and then they would basically, jot down what the dude said, and then they would write an article. Now, they wouldn't always be to the T, but they would pretty much give you hindsight of what was said. So, we all saw it. We all saw it. Yeah, I remember what Angel was saying about Terrence Crawford, calling him a nappy head and all this kind of stuff. Calling him out his name. Then, he called Keith Thurman, a bitch ass nigga and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, when he was questioned about that, he made all these excuses. And then of course you had these same pro-black people that was calling Terrence Crawford top-ranked Toby were the same people that defended Angel Garcia. Well, you know, Puerto Ricans are black. Not all of them. Not all of them. Then when Angel Garcia pretty much said himself that he's not a black Puerto Rican, he said he's European, which means white. And that's what I was trying to say about Fat Joe. Fat Joe ain't black. Fat Joe is, man, please. Please. So I ain't gonna lie. Fat Joe is about, yeah, like I said, Fat Joe is about as black as Fat Joe is about as black as Donald Trump. So, you know, but hey, the same people, like I said, the same people that defended Angel Garcia for his comment, but where was all these pro-black people at when he was saying this stuff about Bud and Keith Thurman? But these are the same pro-black people that'll defend Eminem. You know, these the same so-called pro-black people that'll defend Eminem over a black person. I mean, there you have it. Anyway, you guys, appreciate you guys. I'll be back with more. I'm out.